see what's out there. Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield Presents Let's See What's Out There Plus, a weekly video stream and podcast currently focused on Star Wars Andor, which is available to stream on Disney Plus. In this show today, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around episode 5, The Axe Forgets. So be warned, spoilers there for that and what has come previously. My name is Keith Isles. I am an independent filmmaker and lifelong enthusiast of film and television. If it's your first time here, welcome. Please do check out the other things that we're doing on the channel. This channel is completely devoted to film and television, of which I am a massive nerd. I love films, watching them, studying them, dissecting them, discussing them, you know, everything to do with them, and Star Wars indeed is a big part of that. So if you like what you see here, please do. We're always needing help. Consider giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and if you hit the bell icon, as I'm sure you're well aware, it means you'll get notified as and when new material drops. So thought I'd get that out the way first. I'm not alone on this journey in a galaxy far, far away. Once again, I am pleased to welcome back artist and writer Graham Williams. Hey, Graham.
Hello there. You well, Keith?
Yeah, doing really well. Doing really well. How about yourself?
Excellent. Yes, very well in sunny Hertfordshire here.
Indeed, we're all in the UK, but today we are being joined by another guest on the other side of the Atlantic. I think while we're recording this, it's pretty early for him out there, so we will make allowances if he's not quite awake yet. He is, of course, my regular host on this show when we talk everything Star Trek. He is film fan Pete Mealy.
Hey, yeah.
How you doing?
I'm very good. Yeah, the sun has not risen here. I love seeing the sun shining on Graham's face, but here it is still dark and cold in the early morning hours.
There you go. And I've got, yes, the sun is shining, but I've got myself in a
You've got your blocks
to record this. But yes, it is indeed very sunny here in the UK at the moment. So Pete, nice of you to join us for one of these. I'm glad you wanted to come on and talk some Star Wars, because we do know that you're really the Star Trek guy.
Yeah.
And you often have that caveat. But before we get into talking about this episode 5, the Axe Forgets, where are you with Andor in general? Like, you've seen obviously the first 4 episodes as well.
Yeah.
Take it. And I just wondered, you actually did text me and say you are happy to come on and talk about this. So yeah, what's prompted that? How is this lining up against what you're used to from Star Wars?
So yeah, I am watching it because I'm a vast consumer of television and movies. And so I did watch it. I don't think I was one of those people who like waited up until midnight the day before release to get it as soon as possible. But I watched it, of a fairly real time. And I think one of the criticisms that we often have about media is about, the dedication to the story, and fan service plays into that, where sometimes things are detrimental to the story but put in for fan service. And my overall impression of Andor is that it's really dedicated to the story, and you're getting a lot out of it. As someone who's not super into Star Wars, I don't really remember the character from Rogue One. I don't, and Rogue One is a movie that I maybe watched a couple of times, right when it came out. But for the life of me right now, I couldn't really tell you what happens there. And yet I think there's so much in this story. Andor is really doing a good job of telling a story and having interesting paths to go down, and I'm really enjoying the journey that each episode is bringing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And well, we concur, don't we, Graham? Generally,
Very much
I
so. Yes,
I actually don't know what you think of this latest episode, which we'll get into, of course. But so far, we've been sort of echoing your sentiment there for sure, right,
very
Graham?
much looking forward to this one, to listening on Pete as well, because we've been waxing lyrical, so it may be a massive loving this one. We may just be gushing, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. No, I very much look forward to hearing another opinion and really getting into this series, which if you've watched the previous Home Media Minefields, this is definitely one up there. Quality and enjoyment. I can't believe I have to wait each week now. It's almost as if you can't wait to binge, but actually it's weekly. So it's nice to have that. It's really good to have this released weekly, to have that anticipation, and so far not to have any disappointment either.
Yeah.
Not disappointing at all.
No, I was on a I'll give a shout out. Actually, I was a couple of weeks back. I was on, in fact, no, last week I was on a before this episode though. I was on another stream, the Space Book, which is really good. I'll put a link at the end. This is by Dan Hadley, and they had some other guests on, including our good friend Ian Diaz, the Mega Geek, and whatever. And but yeah, there was some difference of opinion on that one, because I'll let you watch the episode rather than speaking for people. But their fondness of Andor wasn't as great as mine. They felt that the fantasy elements are a huge part of what Star Wars is, and of course, we're telling a story here within the same galaxy, but obviously void of Jedi and Sith and lightsabers and the Force, and all of those sort of fantasy elements that we're used to from Star Wars. And therefore there was the sort of counter argument that that meant it wasn't Star Wars. And also the fact that we're dealing with more morally ambiguous characters here as well than good and evil, which is very much a thing of Star Wars. Again, Jedi and Sith, and even the characters like Han Solo, who was supposed to be somewhat morally ambiguous, is not in the same way as Cassian Andor, which again I think is a plus. But some of the guests on that didn't quite agree. So I'll put a link in the show notes as to where you can go and check out that episode and get some different opinions. And they do great stuff over at the Space Book as well. So I want to give Dan a mention and thank him for having me on as a guest. I actually did call it completely wrong though, because I said that because they were talking about the pace and the fact that the show's quite slow and it's character building, but it isn't what they want from Star Wars. They want action, they want some of the war in Star Wars, and all that sort of thing. And I said that this episode would be a heist and would be loads of action and all of this, and of course I called it completely wrong, because that's clearly going to be the next episode. But there you go.
You weren't alone there, Keith. Don't you worry, I've got your back, mate.
Fair enough. By the way, I will point out as well, I just noticed when I was putting the slides together here, for some reason my thumbnail there is slightly skew with today. I don't know why. So,
I was like, I gotta clear my eyes because it's looking blurry, like it looks off. But I'm so glad you said that.
I don't know what I did. I was trying to put this. It's
been we're just going to be like this now for the rest of the episode. Okay?
Yeah, it's kind of like a 60s Batman angle that we've got going on. So apologies for that. But
okay.
Anyway,
is this better?
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
They say the fastest way to create
this. It's like we should do it for Star Trek ones, you know, with the bridge set. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say the fastest way in set design, they always say the fastest way to create movement is by having angled lines. And so if you're worried about the episode not having enough action, we all just need to come in like this,
There
right?
you go.
And then angled lines create action.
Fair
There
enough.
you go.
Well, we're gonna do what we usually do and just give a brief synopsis on the episode for anyone who's catching this later. If you found this a few months from now and you're like, oh yeah, what are they talking about? So we're going to do that. I called the section "You May Fire When Ready," but I'm thinking of changing it to "You May Fire in 5 years," because obviously that would be more relevant with the Death Star, right? But anyway, and Pete, as you're our guest today, I believe you are going to sort this one, right?
I am ready. Yes.
So, Pete, you may fire in 5
In 5. Okay, tensions are tense in the rebel camp as Cassian proves he knows what he's doing, but he isn't quite trusted and he doesn't really trust them because he's getting paid while the rest of them seem to be fighting out of principle. The axe forgets what the tree remembers. Elsewhere in the Empire, there is no relaxation. The Imperial Guard's mother shows that parental guilt trips are timeless. Mon Mothma and her husband and daughter show that family divisions run deep. The Imperial investigators are close to proving the rebels are organized and ready to strike, while Luthen Real says that tomorrow is when everything will happen. And we'll just have to wait for next week to see that.
Okay, very, very to the point, Pete.
Yeah, very to the point. Yeah, but I guess that goes to your not a lot of action.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, what a great time, because the past few weeks, in fact, I mentioned last week, I'd almost forgot that the episodes had titles. You know, I was saying, oh, episode 1 or 3 and all this sort of stuff, but the axe forgets what the axe forgets, what the tree remembers as the whole thing. What a great thematic title for this episode, because it's laced into all of the stories going on, isn't it? Whether it's the story that's going on with Andor and the guys on that planet, or the Cyril and his mum, or everything that's going on in this is thematic to that. And I don't usually give the titles enough credit, as it were, but I think really spot on there. Which we'll get into, I'm sure. But anyway, talking of giving people credit, it's time to thank the maker. All right, so this week's episode, it was also written by Dan Gilroy and directed by Susanna White, both of which we talked about their filmography and their work in great detail last week. So I'm not going to repeat that, but the person who I wanted to give a shout out to this week, as I know Graham's mentioned many times about the musical score on this being, obviously very different to what John Williams does amazingly for the Star Wars saga. But, as I said, this is a different show and has a different feel. So the composer here is Nicholas Britell, okay, who is an American composer based in New York City. He's worked mainly previously with Barry Jenkins, the director Barry Jenkins, and the director Adam McKay. He's worked on, with Barry Jenkins, he worked on Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk, both of which, by the way, are excellent films if you've not seen them and should really check them out. And then for Adam McKay, I'm not sure how this is actually pronounced over here, but he's done things like The Big Short, Vice, and Don't Look Up, again, which are all excellent movies if you've not already seen them. So he's done quite a bit of work there. He's also recently worked on a HBO series that loads of people have said I should check out, which I haven't seen yet, called Succession, which is currently still running, but has been going since 2018, and I hear really good things about that. So yeah, he's got quite a few credits here for various music. Started off, if you go way back in his filmography, he actually started off doing documentaries. There was quite a few documentaries that he was involved in doing some music on, as I said, before getting involved in those shows and movies that I've since mentioned. And he is currently obviously doing Andor. The next project for him is going to be Mufasa, the Lion King. So again, I believe, let me just check the credit there and make sure I've got my facts right, but I believe that is once again working with Barry Jenkins. Yes, it is. So it's going to be the sequel to the Lion King film from a few years back. So yeah, I thought he really did deserve a mention, and loving the work that he's been doing so far. So there you go. That is today's Thank the Maker section. How are you guys feeling about the music in this? Because again, it's very different to what Williams has done. It's very different to what we're used to with Star Wars, and also even different to what some of the other composers have done, like Michael Giacchino with Rogue One, for example. So, but yeah, do you have any sort of strong thoughts on that? Either of you?
Pete?
No, I mean, I don't think I notice the music as much as you do ever, Keith. But you know, because yeah, I think that I let this kind of stuff just sort of wash over me, but I guess that's like one of the things for it, right? Like sometimes when you're doing your job well, you are not noticed.
Yeah.
No. The for me, it's a blend. Everything is blending beautifully in. If you want to, talk, if you're putting some ingredients together to a dish, this is one of those that just enhances it but doesn't overpower. Don't get me wrong, absolutely adore John Williams in practically everything he did, Star Wars included. And I know Giacchino did the same for Rogue One. He did a version of Williams, right, for that, which helped it, and it really worked in. But this, Andor the series is deliberately being different, and therefore the music being different and subtly there, and it's helping me at least with the drama and some of the tension as well, and that as music, as a score, works perfectly. It's not popping out; it's just there. When I go back and re-listen, I just get those themes coming through. If you notice at the beginning, with the title Andor coming up, that's changed again this week.
Yeah.
So you talked theme earlier on, and I know theme is going to go through all of this, and episode by episode 2, the themes here are just a bit more subtle because the episode itself was subtle. We'll get into how utterly smart I thought the writing was here, and how much of a surprise, and obviously how wrong me and you were, Keith. But we're okay there. We were going for a big actioner, but what we've had is something a bit more tense this time. The calm before the storm, and I think we got that with the music.
Oh yeah,
and I'm genuinely loving it. It's one of those I will go back to. I will, I love movie scores, TV scores. We have to put TV in there now. We have had to for the last 2 decades. TV sometimes surpasses the quality of movies. We've discussed that ad infinitum too. So I'm really getting it there. We saw there, Keith, you had the writer again, some continuity with Dan Gilroy, Susanna White as a director. I want to talk about the DOP, the editing, but yeah, just everything that's going on here is different to the first 3 episodes. It's different to Star Wars, but it's holding its own, and I think that's really brave of them to do that.
Yeah, no, agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's time for a little drink, don't you?
Oh,
A lot of it.
So let's go for some Bantha Milk Blue.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, that was.
It's never gonna get. It's never gonna get
That's
old.
never going to get old.
It is that. That's what you get from maybe not drinking Bantha Milk Blue, but this yellow stuff.
The other stuff, yeah. Although we did get Bantha Milk Blue in this episode.
Oh, we got a lot of it.
I was going to say the clue was literally in the title. This
Yeah.
week,
Oh, look at that.
Because we did indeed get Bantha Milk Blue, and over some sort of like weird sort of Cocoa Pops looking Star Wars cereal. Yeah, it was.
Is that foreshadowing there with these spheres? Because I thought maybe a planet, but now that you've said that, I'm thinking, wait a minute, the whole basis of this, just in the background, is the building of a giant sphere that's to be named a star, and no less a Death Star.
Yeah, but I think Endoros is a better name for a cereal, right?
Is it what again?
Endoros, right? Isn't it the Endor, moon of Endor?
Yeah.
So the cereal could be called Endoros.
Wow.
Yeah.
Careful.
I'd buy that.
If Lucasfilm are listening in on this, that they may stay the idea, and then all of a sudden,
I'm just giving away.
all those royalties gone there, Pete.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it'll be on sale at Galaxy's Edge soon. Yeah. So we obviously got sorry, and I forgot my little caveat at the beginning. So if you haven't watched this show before, this is where we talk about references and Easter eggs and stuff like that, and it's just a bit of fun. There are channels out there that do this in much more detail that I tend to watch after we've recorded these episodes, so that I'm not too sort of swayed or influenced. So with me, I'm always trying to spot the stuff myself, but there's usually a lot more that I've missed, and quite often it's not even visual references and Easter eggs, but it will be, a planet mentioned or something that is somehow connected to something we've either seen before, or it's a deep cut from the extended universe that's now Legends, or all sorts of things. But was there, apart from the blue milk, was there anything else in particular that stood out to you guys?
Yeah, following last week's episode, I too went on the Tinterweb and found sites, and these guys were, as we were discussing, it was when we were in Luthen's shop, we saw there had to be just Easter eggs everywhere, right? So some guys have literally fallen over themselves to try, thank you, to try and find them, because there are either so many of them, or they could be quite obscure. They're in the games, not just the novels or the TV series that are flooding onto Disney Plus as well. So I see from there to Luthen's left behind there's those blocks, there's a cube and the pyramid, which are actual from Star Wars lore, where you have, I'm not a details person, but I just heard somebody discuss them at length, and there's others going on, but not, being more of a Star Wars movie fan and not novels or into the games, I would have missed all of these. So I'm hearing from others there's a lot there. But what we did get in this episode, and that's what I picked up from last week, trying to do a bit more homework, is the naming of the planets in conversation.
Yeah,
I'm loving that opinion here, is because you really are bringing in what we had with Star Wars in the first place. Was Lucas's writing was, it is a galaxy and everyone knows pretty much everything about galaxies, or they may not have heard about an obscure planet, but someone within the characters and the galaxy will have known about them. So we had reference to Jakku, for instance, as a planet there. So at least they're not, even though they're being different in how they're telling the story, they're still making it Star Wars relevant, right? So there is that there. The tattoos, as well on skiing. Again, lost on me as references go, but
Yeah.
leading into all of that conversation where someone out there knows of this planet or that moon there. So
Mhm.
and the fight against the war that was against the Empire. So again, it all fits in. So nothing specific. Again, not a details guy, but I'm picking up on the fact that they are just layering in now, which I know would get a lot of super fans really excited.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I know there was mention of Hosnium Prime in dialogue there, which of course is that planet that is in the Force Awakens. I think it's the one that gets destroyed by Starkiller Base. Which is like sort of the new capital after Coruscant or whatever with that. They mention obviously Kessel and whatever. But I was wondering because she was obviously going through the files of things that have happened over the years, right? When they were discussing that, the Imperial. Yeah, and I was wondering whether they were actually referring to the events in Solo, a Star Wars story. I'm not too sure whether that was a literal reference to that, because obviously there's the heist scene in that, isn't there? So
more than likely, isn't it?
yeah.
Again, bring it in. If you weren't aware of that, it works because of the scene and they're investigating.
Yeah.
And again, if you remember that and you have it, it's a bonus. So it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
So fair play to them for not just creating new.
Yeah.
By linking into others, because then it makes it a lot more relevant.
Exactly. Now, the reason I tried to put up a bigger picture than usual here to actually see some stuff, right? And the reason I threw up this picture is as you rightly said, Graham, they've got the holocrons from which were used in Star Wars Rebels, mainly seen in that. So there was a Jedi and a Sith holocron, which is the cube and the triangle, which is behind him on the shelf. But the reason I chose this picture, and I don't know whether this is just me or whether this is an actual blatant reference, but as we've well known with Lucasfilm properties, they sometimes have things from other films owned by Lucasfilm in there. And as you know, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you had R2D2 and C3PO hieroglyphs, in the Well of the Souls. In Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, you had Club Obi-Wan. You had little references like that. And I'm wondering whether they're doing it the other way around as well, because if you look at the shelf next to the holocrons there, so right as we're looking at this, it's to the right of the picture. Those two sort of stones with the lines on, and I don't know whether it's just me, but that kind of reminds me of the Sankara stones from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Absolutely.
And I don't know whether I'm just trying to see that or whether that is actually a reference.
I put a marker down. I'm saying they are.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was like, am I trying to look into things too much there? But it's just because of the lines on them reminds me of those stones that they had in that film. So I don't know. I am gonna obviously, no doubt, after this, check out all of the new rock stars and all Ryan Airy with Screen Crush and all that do these reference videos. But I'm calling that one here that I think that might be a Lucasfilm reference to.
And don't forget, there's only two there. There are three in the movie at the beginning, but one is lost.
Yes.
So yes. It would make sense. I only know this because we're going through the Indiana Jones trilogy with my daughter for the first time for her.
Oh,
That's fun.
he called it a trilogy. He called it a trilogy. Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
I know there's a 4, I know there's a 5, but hey, we've got to start with some quality first, right? Then
Yeah.
disappointment as we get older. There's life's lessons here, right?
Yeah.
So if you do an education, you've got to start with quality first. You don't start with the worst and build up.
Exactly. What about you, Pete? Was there anything? I mean, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot here, but was there anything that jumped out to you as being maybe a reference to Star Wars or something else?
Like Graham mentioned, the tattoos that get shown off, right? Like that whole conversation, I was like, okay, this is above my head, but maybe this is great for serious, fans. And so I don't know if they'll come back to that and actually explain it, or if that's just going to be what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of just reminded, in terms of awful real world history and fascism and whatever, it just kind of reminded me of the sort of tattooing of the Jews in World War II kind of thing, but again, it's a little bit feeding into the title of the episode, right? With the axe forgets what the tree remembers. Is that the right way around? Have I got that correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But, one other thing I noticed, again, I'm not saying this is an Easter egg, but it just kind of made me smile because Star Wars has always done this, despite the budgets that these shows and films have had. Is it me, or does that look like a Polaroid camera?
Okay.
No, the device.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at that and I sort of because obviously remember in Star Wars they've done, like, I've heard some criticism actually about the fact that some of the guns, some of the weapons that they've got in the show look like just normal weapons that we have here in our galaxy, and all of that. But a lot of that in the original Star Wars, because they didn't have the budget, they were just slightly modified real gun, like the stormtrooper's rifle was a blaster, was a like a submachine gun with bits in. Han Solo's blaster was like I think a Mauser German pistol with something put on the end, and obviously Chewie's bowcaster is sort of a crossbow with bits and pieces on, and even the lightsaber handles, they were the bit that joins the really old vintage cameras to the flash bulbs back in the day.
Oh.
That's what the original lightsabers were, and all this before they, the prequels, and they started obviously building everything from scratch. But in the original, A New Hope, as it's now known, a lot of stuff was, because that didn't have the mega budget at that point, was sort of bits and pieces that were recycled, which again added up to that sort of used space aesthetic, with 70s tech and whatever. So I don't know. I just thought that when I looked at that, I just thought, oh, it looks a bit like a Polaroid camera, but maybe that's just me. But
I can't get bugged out or get my knickers in a twist over a piece of fictional equipment being not so real or too canon. I don't know. Maybe there aren't enough hours in the day to go to do things like eat, to really care about these things. But hey, we are all individuals, and we must have our loves and our hates somewhere, right? Yeah, I'm more of a story guy. I'm more about the feel of things, and how things are. Not just that you've got an AK-69 blaster. Again, it's not a detailed guy in me. I feel more when the guys are hiking out to the heist. The tensions are running high. I feel that there's fear when you've got one TIE fighter, which is awesome. You've seen that all the way through, and they were more cannon fodder when we first started with Star Wars, right? If you notice that they were cool, they screeched, they were there, they got blown up. Now they're extremely menacing, right? One of them just doing a flyby, and then the pilot just has a bit of childishness in him, or just a bit of arrogance where he comes back and flies low right by them playing around. That's the thing that really really excites or makes me apprehensive in watching a drama. But look at the scene around that, what you say is a Polaroid. That there, everything was built around using that piece of machinery by the kid, and he talks about and he embellishes it, part of his manifesto, his politics, the old, and all that built around that. And I didn't care if it was pink with glitter over it, because the focus was on smart, great writing to get these characters talking and actually just oozing out, here I am as a character, here's my motivation, this is why I'm doing it. That's what gets me. That's what fuses me.
That's a fair point, absolutely. But also, as a filmmaker, I'll always go on that whole, everything that is seen and heard, no matter how brief or how much in the background, is important, right? So, but yeah, I mean, you're right. The drama going on here is the thing to focus on. I'm just a bit nerdy with the gadgets and the weapons. So,
to which
Pete will tell you that. Pete will tell you that, because we talk about it all the time in Star Trek, don't we, Pete? It's always about the phaser and the communicator.
Exactly.
So anyway, I think let's have a little bit of prediction time.
Ooh.
So never tell me the odds, or I've got a bad feeling about this, depending on your point of view. So I'll let you guys go first. Anything you want to call, any predictions or speculation about where
what we said last episode about this one is going to happen next one.
Yes, absolutely.
Pete? I'm loving the Mon Mothma family dynamic. And so I'm waiting for the moment when that sort of the political divide between Mon Mothma and her imperial husband cracks, and we get that sort of backstory to her rebellious nature. So waiting to see what happens there. Also, I know nothing about the Luthen Real character, right? The Stellan Skarsgård. I don't know if he's in any of the other entities, right, or storylines, but I figure he's got to be the casualty at some point here, is how I would read it, because they can't kill off almost any of the other characters, it feels like.
Right. I mean, he is noticeably absent from Rogue One. Which doesn't necessarily mean that anything happens, but they do have the leaders of the Rebel Alliance on Yavin in Rogue One, and of course you've got Mon Mothma, who doesn't seem to have a daughter with her. Again, who knows? And you've got obviously Bail Organa there, but noticeably absent. You've got General Dodonna and all of those characters that were in A New Hope as well. But
Saw Gerrera, right?
Well,
is he in there?
He doesn't. I mean, he's in Rogue One.
He's in Rogue One.
He doesn't make the trip to Yavin, as it were. He perishes on God, forgot the name of the planet. But yes, the one that the Death Star
Jeddah.
It's Jeddah. Yes, thank you, Jeddah. Yeah. Yes, there you go, Pete.
So I think now we're what I thought it would happen this episode, but this one was just more of a foundation ready for the next act, almost. Not just the heist, but we've got Cyril Khan just having enough of his overpowering mother. He's fallen, but him us seeing the hologram at the end, I think, my hope, my wish, because I thought he was just such an amazing character, who's the Sergeant Mosk. I'm hoping he's going to team up with him and go searching for Andor, which will bring another level of tension to this. I think he was too invested, and I think it's got really under his skin what happened, and he started something, he wants to finish it. So I think it's been set up for us, and I think unless the heist takes over the entire episode, I don't think they will do that, because they have been hopping back and forth now. We've got like 3 or 4 different locations, 3 usually. You've got Coruscant, but 2 then on Mothma, family troubles and tensions. Then you've got the Imperial Security Bureau, and now we've got Cyril himself. I think he will just say F it and go off hunting for Cassian, and then that'll reveal things as well. I just hope, it may not happen, but I hope that he does team up with the Sergeant, and the Sergeant and him go off on a buddy movie, but an obsessed, driven one, and they will muck a lot. They've got more chance of mucking things up in trying to redeem themselves than most others as well. So I'm seeing that next week. That's going to hit us. The heist, obviously, that's it. Now we're on the night before. We're going to have that, and it's all going to come to a head. But also, the investigations just bubbling away with the Imperial Security Bureau again. So there's going to be something there. Maybe not next episode, but the couple of episodes after that, there's going to be more of an investigation, and of course the internal battle between the two newbies and the Imperial guys. Can't remember the names right now. It was a couple of episodes ago when we went through that, but we're definitely going to have, I think, the same again with the structure of these episodes where you hop back and forth. I don't know if the theme of the next one is going to be all excitement, and it's going to be new beginnings for some with these investigations. My hope is, we will have something more tense. I think we're going to have the storm. We had the calming episode here.
Yeah.
Next one's going to be the storm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that, we've spent a reasonable amount of time with Cyril in this episode, so I'm sure that's going somewhere. And I'm wondering whether he's going to be kind of the Gerard in the sort of fugitive story setup. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that's going somewhere. I mean, one of the things I saw this image when I was looking for images for the slides on this. I saw this one, which I don't recognize as being something we've already seen. So I'm wondering whether it's from the trailer or something, or it's going to be a shot from next week's episode. But looking at his facial hair and what he's wearing there, this looks like it would sort of continue from where he's at the moment. But he's obviously in a ship off world there, looking at what's behind him. It almost looks like an explosion, in fact. But the look on his face, I'm wondering whether, it's that question about how many of the team that's doing the heist are actually going to make it. And I just wonder, we've got a lone shot of him there with that look on his face. I'm wondering, potentially, do you think it might only be him and we'll lose all of the others? Or, will it be select people that we lose from that group? And I mean, that I guess is the question. But yeah, this heist is going to be interesting. We're definitely going to lose out of the 7. We're going to lose at least
Oh yeah.
1 or 2, aren't we? If not,
Yeah.
And what they did this week, which I thought was really good, was, and again, particularly with the themes that lay into the title and the tattoo and all of that sort of stuff that we talked about, but they've really kind of you know, fleshed out some of those other characters more in this episode. I mean, that was the thing. This was a completely very, very minor on plot driven in this episode. It was really a character driven episode, and we learned a lot more about the crew that are around him in this, and Cassian himself, you know, with what he reveals. But I guess I'm going off of speculation now and into points of view. So let's go there. So yeah, time to look at this episode in a bit more detail and our points of view and etc. So I know I talk a lot. Has anybody want to sort of start off? I've got some stills from the various stills from the trying to catch as many of the characters as possible to sort of prompt thoughts and stuff. But too far. Yeah. So
hey, hang on a mo. Keith, are you trying to plug yourself into the Star Wars universe there? Hey, look at this guy. He acts.
If only. But yeah, yeah. I'll let you go before because I've got loads I could waffle on about here, but I'll let you guys start. So
yeah, I'm going to give this one to Pete because Pete hasn't had this session on Andor yet.
Yes.
Very much looking forward to hear.
You know, so what I really like about this series, I guess, or more specifically this episode, is that it is showing us sort of the interior workings of the Empire and the Rebellion, right? I feel like we're digging in deeper to the backstories or the little pieces that make each faction tick. And I'm loving that, right? Like I feel like it's you know, was it Robot Chicken would do those episodes where they would, like, you know, show, like, you know, stormtroopers talking in their barracks or whatever, right? And it was funny and fascinating, and here we've got basically the same thing where we're digging into some of this backstory and the mundane or just the regular lives, and it's presented in a fascinating way to me, right? Like having the Cyril, the top right.
Yeah, he was eating cereal, but
he was eating cereal.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
You know, go through uh, 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 a professional failure, right? And then ending up back home with his mother and dealing with the familial tension there. I love that as sort of a backdrop to what makes the Empire tick, right? Is you've got all types. You've got, you know, like the Darth Vader, the Emperor, the real evil people, and then you've just got this middle manager just trying to make his day, but his mom is bugging him about being more, right? Going back to the first episode, I absolutely loved his manager being like, no, bury this thing, we don't have time for the paperwork. Right, and those interactions are I think fantastic. And so you know, I don't mind that there's not Jedis in this, right? Or we're not seeing the Force. I think this is almost this series is sort of like what I would have hoped for out of Solo, a Star Wars story, right? Like you're really seeing the individuals and their humanity and how it builds into the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Graham, what about,
I think there's some smart writing in this, and
Mhm.
directing and everything else. Even the performances are just really using that as a foundation. And I've watched this episode twice now, and the second time I really noticed more just how smart the scene transitions, whether you're hopping from Aldani, where these guys probably absolutely stink now, right? And
Mhm.
they're peeved, they're nervous, and they're drinking this god awful milk to survive and washing in cold water. So you've got that transition there, but some of the dialogue from one scene, you see it and then you see a different version of it in the next. So when there's a really smart writing where on Aldani, Clem, his pseudonym, is being shown. He hasn't seen the barracks. He hasn't seen the dam yet. He's been told that, and then they talk about the slope. Next shot, you're in a different scene because you're right there, and then you've got the lieutenant walking down the slope. So we see exactly what we've just imagined. Well, we've got juxtapositions in what we're seeing, but but the theme is there and the tensions are still there. So we hopped from again back to that, Aldani, which is raw. It's on location, and then you got into the absolute gorgeous, shiny Coruscant, and you've got a flying car that I've not seen that level of detailed cleanliness and absolute efficiency which you get through all of the Empire, but the tensions are still there, and you're feeling for each of the characters. And if you up the pace, if you added action here, it would kill all of that. It would be gone. We wouldn't have we wouldn't be able to get into the characters and exactly, I'm going to feel how these guys are. Now I know what it's like to hike in bloody in the mountains. I've never been in a flying car, but I don't have to now, right? But because I don't care so much there as to what I'm feeling, and there's all this juxtaposition, this hopping back and forth, and it's consistent. And Keith, you mentioned earlier that the guys you talked to the other day were saying it's too slow, there's not enough action. I think you can have an action one next week. We were in it for the long run here. We've got a 24 episode series, and sometimes you know it from novels, you know it from scripts. You can't have everything the same. It becomes bland too damn quick. But that's not the point of this. I care about these people now on Aldani. One of them gets killed, I'm going to feel something. There's tension in Mon Mothma's family, so she's not actually plain sailing. She's got all the riches in the world. I mean, look at that dining room alone. That's bigger than my living room and my dining room put together here, right? But she's miserable. You've got the Empire are in charge, but Pete says, yeah, we're seeing the bureaucracy, we see the mundanity of the Empire, but they're not happy. They're still having to fight amongst themselves. So there's no trust within the crew to do the heist on Aldani. There's no trust in a family. There's no trust in the Empire as well. And for that, I'm loving this drama. Yeah, I know we've talked about Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, and those as where the high bar of drama are for us, and I'm seeing the same here as well. So again, it's just uber smart writing, and I really do have a pleasure going back to these episodes, and I'm obviously pleased then I can join you guys to speak about this each week, because it's letting me enjoy it more and dig deeper, and not to get into too much detail each week, but yeah, this is excellent drama for me.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, when I've only watched it the once so far, I do want to go back and revisit it before next week's episode. But Yeah, I mean, what became apparent, and the reason I sort of chose those three shots there is essentially we have a breakfast scene, but just from the three points of view. You've got like the, like you said, the opulence of Mon Mothma on Coruscant, but obviously the distance between her and her daughter and her and her husband, and those two are closer, but she's further, and then you've got like the middle management, as you put it, Pete, Cyril and his mum, who, by the way, played by Catherine Hunter, excellent actress, really, really charismatic. But kind of boxed in there, how he feels, and then obviously, you've got the breakfast at the camp where, like you said, they're living off milk and washing out of a bucket and all of all of that sort of thing. But thematically, they sort of all tie in, and I think narrative structure wise, it's quite interesting how they sort of frame that with essentially, everybody at breakfast, just in different parts of the galaxy in very different circumstances. And
did you notice in this one? Sorry to interrupt there, Keith. With the dialogue, a lot of the dialogue hinted at things. What wasn't always on the nose. We've had what the heist is going to be, for instance. Now that they're getting into the drills, but a lot of it is what you'd expect from movie dialogue, where you always hint at things, and they're also using the visual as well. Brilliant on there, bottom left, where Cyril, the sun shines onto him. I didn't get that the first watching. A second time I did, because that's his light bulb moment. That's his. I've had enough of this. I am ready to go. That's how I read it. But there was tense dialogue around the Mon Mothma family breakfast. I don't know until I heard about a charitable foundation what really was going on. So that intrigued me, because they didn't go, "Oh, mother, you're not taking me to the foundation conference or the dinner tonight, are you?" It wasn't that dumb. It was smart. It got you to think, okay, we're not. Who cares? We may have a big Lebowski moment here where you never get to see the bowling final, because we never got to see that meal where they were talking about the week before. You see the aftermath. It's not about that. It's about the tensions between the family. So we're going to see where the backstory is, not just be told, I feel. And that's where the smart writing really is. And again, it's permeated all the way through to the dialogue. Yeah. So it's real too.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a filmmaking point of view here, the thing is, as we've said, Gilroy and his team are clearly really smart when it comes to writing and whatever. But they've got the balance between that good writing, but also the visual storytelling going on very well here, very, very in sync. Because I don't know whether any of you guys picked up on this, but again, I've got to go back and rewatch it. But I was kind of getting the vibe as well that the Andor and the character Cinta, which is played by Viraja Sethru, basically that picture, she's the one on our left on that picture there, the top right. Is it me, or do you think he's got a bit of a thing for her? You've been picking up on that. Again, it's not.
No,
it's not. Oh, really? I maybe it's just me then. But I've really. There's just been a few looks and very, 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 very subtle things in there that have given me the impression that Cassian or Clem, as he's going by, really likes her. I get that impression.
I think he I think he trusts her more and respects her, if anything, Keith. Just to follow on from that, I think it's more of a professional, for want of a better word, respect he has for her, because she seems the most competent. But hey, you may be right. We may be going into the future where he's all loved up, but we know she's already sharing a blanket. Back to that good dialogue again, right? With Vel. So yeah, she's not that way inclined. We'd guess
Maybe.
to
Yeah,
reciprocate the love, as it were.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it was pretty, as I said, it was pretty subtle, but yeah, you know, and also I'm really glad we got some more backstory on Lieutenant Gorn, named after a Star Trek species. There you go.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Gorn, who's obviously pictured there on the upper left. I like the fact that we've now got some understanding as to what his character's motivations are. But again, when you say about smart writing, I like the fact that the character wasn't introduced with that knowledge. That's something that's come out through telling the story, and
Yes.
you know, as things do in real life. So yeah, it's that was really cool, I thought. Yeah.
I also liked how in the Mon Mothma scene, like both factions are terrible to each other, right? Like
Yes.
it wasn't written sometimes, you know, like how sometimes stuff gets written so simplistically where you're like, okay, we get it. Mon Mothma's good, her husband's bad, right? But like in this, that scene in particular, I was like, oh my gosh, like one, you know, the child is being snotty, right? Two, the husband is being disinterested, and three, Mon Mothma is being like I guess selfish, right? Or
Yeah.
always frames everything about her, and the daughter calls her on it. You know, and so like the great writing there is that they didn't simplify down to good and bad, right? You get the shades of what each character is, and like so that scene in particular, like I could have watched so much of that. Same with the mother in, sorry, I can't remember these characters' names.
Cyril. Can.
Who is Cyril? Is that, yeah?
Yeah. Cyril
Right,
with the
like
cereal.
yeah,
There's the mnemonic for you.
Cyril with the steering wheel.
The cereal.
Oh,
Sorry.
Cyril with the that's great. Yes. You know, like we already don't like him from the previous episodes. Uh and then we don't like his mother like right off the bat. But he isn't quietly suffering. Like he is snotty back to her repeatedly. And so uh that complex conversations, I think, is really what drives this show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Pete, I mean,
it's not comfortable, is it? I'm not sure if you felt the same, but it wasn't comfortable viewing, and maybe that's where the criticism is in the context of this within a Star Wars galaxy, a Star Wars universe, where it
it's not the comfy blanket. It's not the
yeah.
comfy throw over blanket that you know you get when you're watching Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
No, yeah, because that's uncomfortable because the rebels are getting their asses whooped, and yes, that's there's a lot of excitement and tension and there, and the Empire always ahead. Whereas here we've got the no, we haven't got the magnifying glass. We've got the microscope out on these guys here, and
Yeah.
it is not comfortable for anyone from the uber rich and powerful to the middle management to the they're not goats. I know the goat herder rebels.
The goat herders.
Yeah,
Are they not nerf hurters?
Well, they are scruffy looking. They
They
are
very
scruffy
much
looking.
probably stuffy smelling too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's that uncomfortable build up to the rebellion, you know, to what we see in a New Hope. But one of the things is, and I'm picking up on a lot of what you're saying, is totally echoing what Graham's saying. Pete, is
Yeah.
when you and I Pete, have talked, you know, whether it's Picard or Discovery, you know, when we've talked Star Trek shows in the past, it's been that thing, you know. Of course, we've had our nitpicks with continuity, or the fact that the Discovery seems the size of the Death Star on the inside but not on the outside, and you know, all those kind of nerdy, annoying things and all that sort of stuff. But one of the criticisms that comes out most of the time, you know, that stuff aside, is usually down to the writing. You know, we think an episode has been poorly written and they didn't stick the landing and the character wouldn't do this, and you know, all this sort of thing. And I think that the thing I'm thinking that we're all sort of agreeing on here with regards to Andor, even though it is a very, very different Star Wars show to what we've been used to, and obviously has a few things in there that aren't necessarily member berries like in some of the shows, but remind us that we're in that world and we're in that universe and we're in the period of time, you know, between the end of the Clone Wars and A New Hope appearing. You know, we're in that time. But I think the thing we are all agreed on here is the fact that the writing and the characters and the motivations, and therefore the emotional investment that we're putting in this, which, let's be honest, that's what storytelling and filmmaking is supposed to be about, right? It is really working here, along with the artistry and the acting and the wonderful production design and filming on location and great VFX and wonderful score and all of this stuff, right? So I'm feeling that, you know, this is really gelling, and I know, as I said, I've heard criticism from others around pacing and pacing issues and all of that, and I accept that on one hand, but at the same time, I feel that that's not what this show and what Tony Gilroy and team are going for anyway. And I have to say, I'm liking it. Yeah.
Yeah, and even just to finish off on the final scene, again, no cliffhanger. Again, they're not into their cliffhangers in this series, but you're back to Luthen, who we haven't seen, who's nervous as hell. The dialogue, it works brilliantly, because that's a tense scene in itself where it's completely out of his control, but he's there, you know, trying to listen in. He's planned it all. He set it up. Now it's up to others. He's like a sports manager or coach, right? He's done all the work. Now it's up to them to do it. But he's at a distance. You know, even in the dialogue, he just talks about escape packs. Well, you know, your intelligence is going, actually, that's enough for us to know that if things go south, things go bad, these two are on the run. Yeah, him and his shop assistant. What's her name again? That's with a.
Which one?
Which one?
It was Luthen. Yeah.
Claire. The shop.
Yeah, Claire. So Claire and Luthen there. Even that bit there, that one last scene, you think, oh, maybe it wasn't needed, but actually it is, because now you've seen the puppet master, the main guy who's put this together. We've now seen how nervous he is, how tense he is. So you may hop back and forth during Heist next episode to see that. But again, smart writing, wasn't too much dialogue. It was all about the tension. It was all about the feelings that they have. You know, by the time they wake up, they'll be starting, but it'll all be over in one day. So it was brilliant for me to see another side of one event, of one activity that's going to happen, and you saw it from the guy who can't be in control anymore and who's got so much at stake, which has been built up through smart writing previously. So it was one of those scenes that I think that blended beautifully into this episode, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot more of that as Andor progresses, because it's going to get more tense. You know, you don't rob the Empire and just go off into hiding and escape, do you? So that, for me, very much like, from the die-hard perspective, they're going to take a lot of money, and you can't just run away and escape without blowing up the building, as it were. Even Luthen has a lot to actually lose in this one. It's the first time we've actually seen him nervous and have the spotlight on him, and I thought that was, again, smart writing.
Yeah, I must admit, I do wonder whether next week whether we are going to cut back and forth between, Mon Mothma, Lucen, the Imperial Security Bureau, Cyril, etc., or whether we're going to have a very tense and then action-packed episode just following the team on the heist.
I would say for sure we're going to get a lot of tension. I think they're going to build the tension, cutting back and forth.
Right.
Like something's going to pop for Mon Mothma, something's going to pop for the investigative team, right? Yeah, the lower right-hand corner lady.
Oh, sorry.
Nope.
There we
sorry.
go. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think
her name's Deidre. That character.
Yeah.
Played by Denise Goff.
Yeah,
to be honest,
Dave Ramiro, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I was trying to figure out if I can't tell some of these blonde ladies apart, to be honest. And I cannot get the names right. I was like, was she in Game of Thrones? But yeah, I can't figure it out.
I think 90% of this cast have been in Game of Thrones. It's at some point. But
well, I guess that's but yeah, that's what you get, right? Filming in the same locations and talent pool wise. But anyway, where was I? Oh, right. You're gonna build tension, right? Like with her, Cyril is gonna pop into this, right? I think we're gonna, this was the calm before the storm, and the next episode we're gonna get a lot of storm, and so I think we're gonna see it in all of the storylines.
Yeah, because we could have, because you could go either way. You could have an entire heist episode, and then the aftermath is the next 2 episodes, or you could just give us all the tension and break it up next episode, but still have the aftermath happening. But both are exciting premises, aren't they? Really, yeah.
Yeah.
So the premise to have the big action one that some guys out there desperately want, but yeah, I think that this is a smarter TV series and a story more than that. So either way, either way, there's going to be a heist. I think that we've got that in agreement. We've locked that bad boy down.
Which for sure means that it's not going to happen next episode.
No, absolutely. But and my thing, well, about is it Star Wars or isn't it? I just think, well, it's a big enough galaxy that why can't we tell other stories in it? I mean, I know some of it's going to be for me and some of it isn't. Like this is definitely my kind of jelly, this stuff, but I'm sure there will be other Star Wars shows, because let's be honest, they now have to constantly be producing Star Wars content for Disney Plus. I know that sounds cynical, but that's the truth of the matter, right? Because
Star Wars and Marvel, they're just going to keep pumping them out.
And Paramount Plus are doing the same with Star Trek as well, right?
Great.
And
love it.
We've said, I'm loving it's a whole nother stream, I know, but I'm loving Strange New Worlds, but Lower Decks is not for me, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that they can't have those shows, you know what I mean? It's kind of, we've almost got to that point now where there's so much that you can kind of almost pick and choose and pick and choose what is canon for you and what isn't, and you don't necessarily have to be a completist with all of this stuff. You know, if people don't like the people who hate the sequel trilogy, and let me tell you, hate is a strong word, but I have huge issues with that. You know, there's a lot of that sequel trilogy that makes no sense at all because of the way they treated them one film at a time, and then you've got a bit of a mess to deal with at the end. And I thought, you know, again, a whole nother stream, but I'm not going to go on about that. But, you know, I say to people, the people who really, really, really hate them and don't want to accept them as canon and all this sort of thing, I say, well, don't then. You know,
Yeah.
enjoy it up to the point that you want to. And, you know, we've all got our own head canon, and we don't have to accept it that it's all canon just because it officially is, whatever, you know.
Yeah. I've got an argument for that that I'm using. Because I noticed it last week, and it's still there. There's a caption right when it says about coming in when you've got Andor, it's based on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says that per episode.
Based on
so
Star
I'm taking
Wars,
the based on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Fine. I think that's at the end, maybe with the credits with George Lucas, based on Star Wars from George Lucas. Yeah, it's based on. Good. There we go.
Same with the Star Trek shows, are all based on Star Trek by Gene Roddenberry, and you know, not everything he did was perfect either. You know, it's just like George. It's like, you know,
yeah,
they've just created a wonderful play set to go, you know, a wonderful universe to go play in, and yeah.
And this isn't new either. I remember obviously I'm going to misquote him, but John Lennon said of the Beatles, because you know the Beatles changed their sound so many times in only 10 years. They were only, you know, the guys were in their 20s making that music, and he said, well, the old music hasn't gone away. You can still listen to that. You don't like our new music, fine, go back. You can still listen to our old music. It hasn't gone. It hasn't disappeared. And I was like,
the blue album here. If you don't like the red one, it's like, yes.
Yeah. Look, we grew up and adored the Star Wars Empire and Jedi. Same with, you know, on the Star Trek side of things. They've not gone away. They're still there for repeated viewings, repeated discussions, things to find out. You know, I learned so much on this. I didn't know about the lightsaber, for instance. That's an awesome factoid for me. I'm in my 40s, nearing my 50s. I've loved Star Wars since a kid, and I've now learned something new. It's always going to be there. I don't have to love the sequel trilogy.
What did you learn? What did you learn? Sorry.
The lightsaber from Star Wars was the connector from the light from the bow thing. Hey, I'm nearly 50, right? I didn't know that.
Totally ruined that now.
It's still there to what I truly love. So, yeah, we live in a golden age now where we're not only getting new content that we may or may not like, but we've got such easy access to the older content. Home media is there, or streaming. It's literally at our fingertips. We've got all of this, and we can spend our time as buddies discussing and getting our views out there too, which is awesome. So yeah, we're living in this age where we can. So the picking and choosing, the learning to filter, something we've had to get used to. You know, I remember black and white TVs in Britain, and you know, it was 3 channels, and you know, with cinema as well, you had to wait months for the movie to come out, then watching the cinema once, and then months, maybe years before it came out on home media, which usually was then VHS in the 1980s. So yeah, I'm really good with revisiting and maybe watching and not liking the new stuff, but then I go, okay, I'll just go back to what I love.
Exactly. Yeah, couldn't have said it better. Well, Pete, any sort of last thoughts, comments, anything you want to add about this before we sort of start wrapping things up?
You know, just like I'll say quickly, like I didn't realize this was like a 12 episode season, right? Is that right?
Yes, it's 12 episodes, but there's 2 seasons, so we're going to get 24 in total. But yeah.
And so I will say, like, wow, that's a ton of episodes that are still to come, because here we are just in episode 5, and we've gotten so much story. That's really exciting, I think. And so yeah, me as a casual fan, loving it. Keep it going.
Yeah. No, I yeah, agree. But anything you want to add, Pete, or you just you said your bit for this
I've
one?
said my bit.
Graham, anything that you want to add about this?
Gosh, I've said a lot. But in summary, there's some smart writing. I'm loving it, looking forward to it every week, and that's nothing but a good thing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, time to use the com link. So, Pete, come on, talk us through it.
Okay. Oh boy, it's been a long time since I've done this, but okay. So I've been Pete Mealy. You can find me on Twitter at Too Many E's. Also, if you enjoyed this show, you should check out the other Let's See What's Out There shows, both here streaming on the Home Media Minefield YouTube channel or on the podcast apps. Although I will admit, I've been pretty bad about putting some of them out as podcasts. That's on me. Got to get back on that horse. Send us your thoughts, lswotcast@gmail.com. Follow LSWOTcast and Home Media Minefield on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the good social medias out there. Yeah, and this is a different screen than the last time. Do we plug Neil Myers here? Neil Myers for our great theme music, neilmyersmusic.com. Yeah, and who did the logo? The Let's See What's Out There Plus with our Mandalorian logo.
Oh, that was Ryan Holloway, friend of the channel.
That was Ryan Holloway.
Yeah.
Okay. Keith, where can people find you and more of your work? Is that what I say now?
Yeah, sure. I like it. It's like we've rehearsed. Yeah. So I do have another channel, which is British Isles, which is EYLES, as in my last name. You can see some short films on there that I've made. Also hoping to get a feature out. It's going to be 2023 actually now, not 2022 by the time it's finished. But I'm working on a feature with my friend Mike Tack called Car Cam. So stay tuned here for more news on that. If you want some Star Wars related material as well, here on Home Media Minefield, I've got an episode where I look at Star Wars on home media, specifically the original trilogy, and the fact that the original unaltered trilogy still exist out there. So watch that for more information on that. And also my beloved Star Wars radio dramas. I've got a real deep dive episode where I am joined by 2 very special guests that are experts on that. So yeah, please check that out as well. But yeah, I mean, that just leaves me to say thank you to you guys for coming on as usual. We're having fun with this. I don't know what's going to happen in the weeks moving forward, because I'm going to be in the States for a couple of weeks of this. So whether or not I can set something up to do a remote
go do it.
Yeah, that might be interesting. But
Home Media Minefield hits the road. Let's see what's out there.
Oh, that's a good one. Or yeah, I was just thinking, Keith, like for the first time in 3 years, longer, we could actually podcast next to each other.
There we go. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So we'll see, depending on timings of the road trip and all of that stuff, when I'm swinging by and seeing you guys. But yeah, we'll figure something out for sure. But yeah, thank you for watching this. As I said, please like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and check out some of the other work. And we'll see you next time on Home Media Minefield Presents let's see what's out there. Plus. Absolutely. Bye for now. Thank you.